What's the best revenge you've gotten on a former boss? My boss stole my Super Bowl tickets, so I took everything from him. I want to start this off by saying I'm a huge 49ers fan. A few years ago, they made it back to the Super Bowl, so I was extremely excited to watch the game. I was working at a consulting firm with a handful of clients I would talk to daily. One client in particular, who I'll call Jeff, knew how big of a Niners fan I was. I was the day-to-day lead on his account, and he really liked working with me. We became great friends, often grabbing drinks or dinner after our meetings. At some point, he had gained access to a pair of Super Bowl tickets, and they were damn good seats. I wasn't around that day, so he gave the tickets to my boss, Richard. He asked Richard to pass them over to me, and wanted them to be a surprise. Well, the game came and went, we lost, it sucked. The next time Jeff and I met, we went to get drinks afterward and he mentioned, by the way, why weren't you at the game? I heard someone else was in your seats. I asked what game? He said, the Super Bowl. Confused, I answered I didn't go to the Super Bowl, nor did I have tickets. He told me that he gave Richard a pair of his company tickets for me as a gift so I could attend. I had no idea what he was talking about. He looked shocked, told me to quietly ask around about it and to get back to him. When I was back in the office the next week, I found out through one of the secretaries that Richard had given my pair of Super Bowl tickets to another one of his clients as a gift from our company. I might have let this sort of thing go to keep the peace under different circumstances, but these were seats on the 30-yard line to see the goddamn 49ers play in the Super Bowl. I was livid. I considered confronting Richard myself, but realized it was the client who had noticed I wasn't there in the first place, so if I let him handle it, there would be no blowback on me. So I texted him, hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for thinking of me with those seats, but it appears that they were given to another one of our firm's clients. He texted back right away, in all caps, are you kidding me? He then told me not to worry, and that he would be handling it. He followed up with me about formulating a plan. A few days later, we were asked to come down for a meeting in their office. The client requested the partner be present, not entirely unusual, so Richard and I hopped a flight the next week and headed over to their office. Little did Richard know, my client had orchestrated a wonderfully awkward little show to catch him red-handed. When we entered the conference room, it was all the usual suspects along with a woman in her 30s we didn't recognize. My client immediately introduces Richard, this is Stephanie, she's the VP from accounting, she wanted to sit in on this meeting. Hey Clive, you guys must already know each other from the Super Bowl. She then responds as she goes to shake my hand, oh, I don't think so. Did we meet there? I'm sorry if I forgot. Jeff responds, geez Steph, how much did you have to drink? Clive was sitting right next to you. Jeff looks over to me, and I say sorry Jeff, I wasn't there. Are you thinking of someone else? At this point, Richard is looking visibly uncomfortable, probably trying to come up with an excuse. He starts in with an When Stephanie says over him no, so and so from the other company were in the other seats. By the way, I was wondering why we gave company seats to those guys. Is there a project we're working with them on that I don't know about? Obviously not, it was like John Deere partnered up with Coca-Cola. Richard lets out an again. And C immediately spoke over him asking Richard, I gave you those tickets for Clive, what did you do with them? At this point Richard is turning bright red. He responds well he wasn't able to make it, so he must have given the seats away to someone else? And turns to me looking for me to cover for him. Jeff smirks at me. I responded what are you talking about? Jeff, you gave me tickets to the Super Bowl? Client suddenly raises his voice, Richard, those tickets were a personal thank you gift from me to Clive. Did you give them away to someone else? What did you do with them? Richard butts in with maybe something got mixed up in the office? Jeff went quiet for what probably seemed like an eternity to Richard. Jeff then looked down, grabbed his portfolio and iPad, put them into his briefcase, and said I think this meeting is over. Clive, it seems as if I owe you a thank you gift, let's go to lunch. Stephanie, you're welcome to join, but Richard, I need to evaluate our relationship. Please go back home and expect to hear from us next week. Richard suggests he would like to join, presumably to do damage control, but Stephanie sternly tells him I don't think that's a good idea. And asks the front desk to see Richard out. As soon as he is in the elevator, we all break out laughing hysterically. Stephanie wasn't really a VP, just an employee at the company who Jeff had drafted into helping with his pre-planned meeting skit, but she did end up coming to lunch with us and was a fellow Niners fan. We all had a blast at lunch. On our way to the restaurant, I got a desperate text from Richard saying I needed to cover for the firm and that we could discuss things when I got back. I replied, yes, we need to talk, but I'll see what I can do. Jeff told me to wait a couple hours and then gave me a list of things that I should expect before doing anything for this scumbag. 1. To expect invoices for the resale value of the Super Bowl tickets, it was around $10K, as well as our lunch, he picked a pricey spot and made a big show of overspending, and that he expected them to be paid immediately. 2. I should expect a direct apology, and Richard should have to write a written apology to Jeff's company for what Jeff considered theft. 3. Richard was not to contact Jeff again, and all of his business would be through myself, or another, more trustworthy partner. I ended up being paid by Richard, and it came to a little over $15K. At this point though, it was too late. This whole situation caused a ripple in our relationships with other partners. HR did some investigating, and found that this wasn't even Richard's first big mess up. Richard had become a liability to the company, and a week later, he had officially taken an early retirement. I actually came off looking great because it appeared that I had made a good faith effort to save C from the firm, despite being the victim in the situation. In retrospect, I really have no idea what the hell the guy was thinking. Did he seriously believe the client would just not notice me not thanking him for Super Bowl tickets?
Parents, what did your child do that was so despicable that you will never forgive them? I had put up with my daughter's behavior for 13 years, but what she did to that cancer patient was horrifying. I made sure her punishment fit the crime. My daughter, who I'll call Kate, is a little devil. She has a set of major behavioral issues, and everyone is at their wits' end. If she's told no to anything, she'll throw a screaming fit. If any adults confront her about it, she lies, or tries to manipulate the situation to be the victim. Kate refuses to share even the smallest things, loves to scream at people, and hurts her siblings and other children. At the age of 7, Kate had already been suspended from school twice for fighting. After all of this, she still will try to act all sweet and innocent. A couple years ago, she developed a stealing habit. I noticed that she didn't usually steal things of monetary value, but rather things with sentimental value. It's like she wants to inflict as much pain on a person as possible, just because she was told she couldn't have it. Like I said, she's evil. I'm a 34-year-old female. My ex-husband and I grew up dirt poor and have worked hard to provide our children with a comfortable lifestyle. Our 5-year-old son is totally normal. We divorced when my son had just turned 1, but we still have a great friendship. Our daughter has only been getting worse. Last year, Kate bought one of her poorer classmates something from the store near the school, and after giving it to her, Kate started teasing her, and saying her parents were failures. The teacher heard this, and she was suspended. She's now 13, has been expelled twice, and suspended more times than I can count. I don't know where I went wrong. We've tried everything. Therapy, counseling, medication. We even tried to do volunteer work with her, to maybe show her some kind of responsibility. We stopped when she hit a homeless man on the head with her garbage collection stick. We took her home, and grounded her, but not without a screaming fit. The worst had yet to come. A week ago, we learned that Kate had the idea to start a club. They pick a girl at random in the school each week to bully. They would incessantly torment them, and if they could handle it, they were permitted into joining the club and be friends. Their latest victim was a girl in their class who was going through cancer treatment. It was at the point where she was noticeably losing her hair. I'll call her Haley. I'd met her and her parents a couple times in the past, and needless to say she was the sweetest little girl I've ever met. On that day, one of Kate's friends brought a chargeable razor to school, and Kate ran a swipe of it through the back of Haley's hair, cutting off a lot and leaving a huge bald area. Her friends recorded the whole thing on their phones as they laughed and all the other students watched. Kate told Haley that she was ugly with her new short hair, and told her, "Now nobody will like you. You should probably just die from that cancer in your brain." They posted the video on social media, and I saw it a couple days later. I felt my heart start to race, and all I could see was red. I ran up to Kate's room, ripped her out of her bed and sat her down on the chair. She started crying asking what I was doing, and I told her to shut up. I grabbed my electric razor, and started shaving her hair off. Kate began freaking out. She was hyperventilating, and wouldn't stop sobbing. I didn't care. I didn't stop until she was almost bald. I told her we were going to use all the hair I had cut off, and use it to make a wig for the girl she had tormented. She was inconsolable. It felt great. Maybe I'm evil for doing this, but it was the only way. I felt helpless, like I had failed as a mother. I no longer saw Kate as my daughter, but a monster and a mistake I had made. I congratulated Kate on joining the ugly side of the family with short hair, and sent her to her room. I took all of her electronics, and grounded her for a month. I took the hair I had gathered to a friend of mine who happened to be a hairstylist. She made a beautiful wig, and I brought it to Haley's family the next day. They asked where I got the hair from, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them. I told them it was donated, and they accepted it in tears. They thanked me for my kindness, and I apologized for my daughter's actions. I told them I had handled the situation, and assured them it wouldn't happen again with a smile. Who knows? Maybe I'm as evil as my daughter is, either way I don't really care. To this day I don't have a single regret, and I'd do it 1,000 times over. Kate seems to have been acting better recently, and she even apologized to Haley without me needing to tell her to. I hope she's finally learned her lesson.
Men in relationships, when did the ugly best friend try and get in the way? My fiancé's plus-sized friend cheated on the only man that would look at her. Now, it's ruining my engagement. I need to get this off my chest. I feel like I'm going insane. My fiancée Sarah and I have known each other for about 6 years, and we just recently got engaged last year. Our wedding is scheduled to take place in just 2 months, and I just witnessed something that is making me feel like I'm making a huge mistake. A month ago, Sarah and I were taking a rare opportunity to relax at home. She was in the kitchen making dinner while I was out back working on one of my projects. I came back into the house to get a drink, and saw Sarah talking on speakerphone. I could tell by her voice that it was her beluga friend Jessica. Jessica was an idiot, and had a disgusting attitude towards practically everything. She hadn't graduated high school, yet wanted to be with a 6'4" jacked male making $200K a year. Ridiculous, I know. When I first walked in, I didn't quite know what they were talking about, but then something caught my ear. I heard Jessica say that she was planning to leave her boyfriend, and that she had been cheating on him for over a year. I was appalled and disgusted. Her boyfriend was one of the only men that gave her the time of day, and yet she cheated on him. Sarah, on the other hand, was super supportive. I remember a distinct "Yas queen, you go girl slay" coming from her mouth. It made me want to puke. It's hard to believe that she was acting like that when she makes Nick avocado look skinny. Here's the worst part. Jessica was asking Sarah if she would help cover for her, since her boyfriend was coming home in an hour, and Sarah agreed. I was shocked. If she was willing to cover up for her friend's affair, what's stopping her from covering up her own affair? After a couple days, I haven't spoken to her about what I overheard. I don't think she knows I heard her conversation, but I guarantee she would have the same opinion even if I confronted her. I don't know what she sees in Jessica, besides her high blood pressure. I just feel overwhelmed. 2 weeks ago, I confronted Sarah. I told her that I thought what she was doing was totally immoral, and completely disgusting. She got really mad, and told me it was none of my business, saying that I shouldn't have been eavesdropping in the first place. Around this time, Jessica happened to be coming over to our house to visit, presumably to scheme her way out of trouble. She arrived in the middle of our fight and immediately took Sarah's side. She kept going on about how her boyfriend never made her happy, and that he was a useless male who didn't deserve anything in life. Was this ogre really serious? I got really mad that she was talking about this nice guy like this, and I flipped. He's a useless man? You didn't even graduate high school. You live off your parents' money, and you don't have a job or an education. You haven't studied a single day in your life, and the only thing you've ever memorized is the McDonald's menu. Both Jessica and my girlfriend stood there speechless, and I left. I took the car and went for a long drive. Sarah started blowing up my phone saying that I was totally out of line, and that we were through. I told her that was fine, and that I had planned on breaking up with her anyways. I didn't really care at this point, I just wanted them to stop barking at me. Later that day, I tracked down Jessica's boyfriend's phone number through social media, and sent him a message. I told him everything that had happened, how Jessica had been cheating on him, and I sent screenshots of Sarah and I's messages as proof to him. He sent me a message back saying he figured something was up, since she hadn't asked him for Burger King money in a while. He figured she must have had someone else paying for her food now. I let him know that Sarah and I had also broken up, and he apologized, thinking it was his fault. I told him it wasn't and that I had planned on breaking up with her as soon as I overheard their conversation. I still talk to Jessica's ex, and we've become good friends. I haven't heard much from Sarah, but her parents did send me messages asking why I'd called off the wedding. I told them what happened, and they apologized for getting upset. I got some compensation for the wedding from them, and we still talk from time to time. As for Honey Boo Boo, the man she cheated on her boyfriend with left her after she spent $2,000 on Uber Eats in a single night with his card. He took her to small claims court, and got the money back while also landing her fat butt with a theft charge. She spent 3 nights in the county prison, and now she's unable to get a job. I haven't felt this giddy in years.
Today I messed up by asking my partner to stop eating his own man juices after we make love. I, 23 female, have been in a relationship with this guy, 33 male, for like a year. When we started dating, after a month of getting to know each other, we went to his place and did the deed. Enjoyable experience overall, but after he was done, he removed the protection and, with very expert gestures, proceeded to consume the substance right out of it. I was shocked and confused. In my head, I was like, "You man, what is happening?" He was my first partner, and I wondered if that was kind of normal? Common? I don't know. Since I used to be a people pleaser, I managed to hide my shock and discomfort and simply asked him, "Why did you do that?" He answered me, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world, "It's a lot of kilojoules of energy, I can't waste them." I was even more confused. I was literally speechless, and what had been a very nice and romantic night managed to become a weird and kind of awkward situation. To make things worse, he even stated in a very dramatic tone, "I will never allow anyone to consume my fluids." He said that like it was something precious, as if someone would ever get access to that. It was like being able to steal his soul? I don't know, it made no sense, and also, dude, nobody here is trying to steal your precious substance, uck. By the way, he wasn't consuming it in a provocative or alluring way. He did it like it was an extremely serious and important deal. Why must this be so dramatic? We kept dating for several months, and every single time we were intimate, he did the same thing. I started to become very concerned since usually inside protection, there's some lube, I guess. He even complained about the bad taste of the lubricant or the material the protection was made of. The taste of his own substance somehow didn't bother him at all. Good for him, and even if usually, lubricant is not that harmful, I think that consuming a small amount but very often may not be the healthiest habit. Also, his breath right after this ritual almost made me feel sick all the time since he even refused to brush his teeth afterward. I didn't chew, I swallowed it in one gulp, so I didn't need to brush my teeth. Ew. I tried to discreetly make him understand that his habit was grossing me out, by saying out loud ew or by covering my eyes, but he didn't get the clues. A year passed by, I had enough. I tried to confront him, but nope, he was immovable. Neither the fact that his passion for his own substance was making me a little uncomfortable, nor the fact that in my opinion eating lubricant could be harmful made him stop. He then proceeded to get mad. He stated that he wasn't doing anything wrong, that he just didn't want to waste precious substances from his body, and that I was making a scene for nothing. I told him about his breath, and he straight up accused me of having a bad smell? I told him that by deflecting my accusation, he was just making things worse, but then he interrupted me and told me I was insufferable, then he just left. He was extremely angry. I've never seen that side of him. I'm sure that he will tell me to pack my things and to leave. So right now I'm mad, confused, and scared about his behavior.
My fiancé won't marry me if I get a prenup. I, 43 male, am a doctor. Becoming a doctor took me 15 years after high school. I chased the profession only because of the salary and prestige that came with it. My father has worked hard all his life and owns a lot of properties and businesses. I'm set to inherit these valuable assets. I proposed to my fiancé, who's 39 and currently unemployed, about 2 months ago. We've been living together for a year, and the wedding preparations have started. As we began discussing the actual ceremonies and other details, I brought up the topic of a prenup. Her response was an immediate and firm no. She insisted that what I earn is what we make together and that we should share everything. I've spent countless hours on Reddit, reading story after story of people losing everything in a divorce, and it's made me wary. I can't shake the feeling that I need a prenup to feel secure. It doesn't help that I'm starting to wonder if she's more interested in my money than me. Whenever I buy her gifts, her first question is about the price. She demands designer accessories or clothes, and I've found myself cutting back on gifts for her, reserving them for special occasions like Christmas, birthdays, or anniversaries. Personally, I don't see the appeal of designer labels. To me, spending money on high-end brands feels like a waste. Back to the prenup issue. Every time I bring it up, she flatly refuses. The strange part is that I'm fine with not being married. She's the one who suggested marriage, not me. I'm completely comfortable with staying engaged for the rest of our lives if that's what it takes. But I'm at a crossroads now and just need some advice on how to proceed. Should I just go ahead with the wedding without putting anything on paper? Or should I stand firm and not marry her at all until a prenup is signed? I want to do what's right for both of us, but I also want to protect myself. I love her, but I can't ignore the red flags.